All right, here we go. Next chapter. I know it's disappearing. Magical book. Next chapter of When You Reach Me. Again, if you listen to the last one, it got pretty emotional, pretty crazy. So if you listen to this one, I assume you listened to the last one, it will all make sense. So yeah, crazy stuff. As you can see behind me, also, by the way, this is I'm in New York City right now. I'm on Amsterdam Avenue. Give you a little chance to see what life is like in 19. This is also, I believe, this picture is actually from in the past, like around 1979, also around that time as well. So this is a good picture that gives you an idea of kind of the apartments and things like that at Miranda and Sal and Amory and all those different kids would have lived in. I think we're going to read two chapters today. We're getting close. We're getting close here. Next chapter is called Difficult Things. Difficult Things. That night, Richard stayed with me while Mom kept Louisa company at the hospital. Sal had a broken arm and 3 broken ribs, and he had to spend the night for observation. Richard ordered pizza. Do you feel like talking? He asked. Not really, I said. Maybe later. He nodded. Just let me know. After dinner, I closed my door and sat on my bed with your notes spread out in front of me. Think, my brain said. Think, think, think. I got out my ropes, tied some knots, and tried to start at the beginning. The trip is a difficult one. I will not be myself when I reach you. These are from the notes. I will not be myself when I reach you. The trip is a difficult one. I must ask my favors while my mind is sound. And then there was the strangest line of them all. It was this one. The trip is a difficult one. I can carry nothing, and a man can only hold so much paper in his mouth. I fingered through the notes. So small and brittle. Had you carried these in your mouth? The trip is a difficult one. Difficult enough to scramble a person's mind and leave him raving on a street corner. What kind of trip did that to someone? Who would deliberately take a trip like that? My mind began. My mind began a little chant. And why? 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 To save Sal. That's why you stood on our corner day after day. That's why you were always doing those kicks into the street. You were practicing. It was all to save Sal because somehow you knew. Time travel is possible, Marcus said, in theory. I am coming to save your friend's life and my own. Well, I said out loud to no one, you saved Sal's life, but you fell miserably with goal number 2. Sorry, uh, sorry, he said. I didn't mean to scare you. Oh, sorry. Richard knocked on the door and I jumped. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. I thought you might want to come out and have some grapes. Richard had brought me grapes. We watched some TV and ate a giant bowl of the most perfect tart green grapes in the world. They were definitely not from Bell's. It was nice, just sitting there watching TV together. My brain stopped asking me questions. I saw Richard glance over at me a couple of times, but he didn't ask any questions either, and that was nice too. When I fell asleep on the couch, Richard turned the TV off, and said I should go to bed. But once everything was quiet, I just couldn't sleep. Your words were swimming in my head. Please deliver your letter by hand. You know where to find me, you wrote. Louisa had told me that some of the old people died with nothing and no one. She said she said they were buried on an island somewhere north of Manhattan. I figured that was where you would be soon. I was still worrying and feeling a little frozen when my bedroom door opened and Mom came over and sat on the edge of my bed. Sal's going to be fine, she whispered. putting one arm around me. The tests are done. He's probably going to be home in the morning. I didn't say anything. I was afraid that if I spoke, I would tell her too much. I would tell her about the notes, Richard's shoe, the $2 bills, well, everything. And I thought that if I did tell her, somehow Sal might not be okay anymore. So instead, I just held on to Mom's arm, and she stayed right there until I fell asleep. The next chapter is called Things That Heal. Things That Heal. The next night after dinner, Mom and I went to visit Sal and Louisa downstairs. It was strange to be there in a place I knew so well but hadn't been in so long. Like how it might feel to look at my own face in the mirror for the first time in months. Sal was sitting up in bed with one arm in a cast. Mom gave him a careful hug, and then she and Louisa went to talk in the kitchen. Louisa had dragged a table over to the left of Sal's bed so that he could reach it with his good arm. And there was a stack of sports magazines and stuff on it. Wow, I said, are those Tootsie Pops? Your mom went all out. He smiled, actually looking me in the eyes, even. Yesterday at the hospital, she brought me McDonald's, he said. McDonald's? Louisa thought that McDonald's was a giant conspiracy against the health of all Americans. Oh my God. I mean, why aren't you dead? But that was a little too close to what had actually happened. He laughed, but I felt myself go red. With his good hand, Sal shook the bag of Tootsie Pops out onto the table, found a purple one, and held it up to me. Grape, he said. Aw, you remember. But somehow that was also too close to the truth. I felt my head kind of buzz and was pretty sure I had gone red again. I remember everything, he said cheerfully. He seemed to be in a great mood. He also seemed to have forgotten that we weren't really friends anymore. You do? I said, unwrapping my Tootsie Pop. So you remember why you don't like me anymore? I was surprised to hear myself ask, but once I had, I really wanted to know the answer. I still like you. Of course I still like you. I just needed to, I don't know, take a break for a while. Ha, break, he said, and gestured to his sling. Get it? He giggled. But why? I wasn't the one who hit you. He shook his head. Hit me? When? What are you talking about? What do you think I'm talking about? The day Marcus hit you, the day you bled all over your Yankees jacket, the day that you shut me out. Wait, who's Marcus? I suddenly got how totally stupid I'd been. Never telling Sal that Marcus was an okay kid. I thought of the day I'd seen Sal drop to the ground and pretend to tie his shoe. He probably worried about seeing Marcus on that block every single day. He probably woke up in the morning thinking about it. I could have done something to fix it a long time ago. Marcus is the kid who hit you the day in the street. The kid who was running, the kid you were running from yesterday. Oh, Saul caught me off. He looked at his feet, which were just a bump under covers. Yeah, that kid freaks me out. He has it in for me. He doesn't have it in for you, I said. He really doesn't. I think he was trying to apologize to you yesterday. He shrugged. If you say so, he looked at me. But that has nothing to do with you and me, really. But the day Marcus hit you was the day that you stopped wanting to do stuff together. You stopped. He shook his head. No, it was before that. And very quietly, my brain said, remember the time way back in September when Sal didn't show up to walk home together after school? Remember how he said he didn't have money to go out to lunch when you knew that he did have the money? Remember the morning you waited for him in the lobby until you were absolutely positively going to be late, and then you rang his doorbell and it turned out he'd gone to school without you. And then I remembered something else. I remembered running across Broadway, holding my Big Mysteries of Science poster and seeing Sal on the other side and yelling for him to wait up. And had he, he'd and had he, and he had, he'd waited. And when I asked him why he wasn't at our regular spot after school, he just mumbled something and looked at his feet. And then we'd walk towards Amsterdam in total silence until Marcus hit him. Sal had started home without me that day, and it wasn't the first time. But he was today looking right at me, and we still felt like us. So when can we go back to normal? I asked. That's the thing, Mira. It wasn't normal. I don't have any other friends. Well, not real friends. Neither did I wanted to say. But then I realized that was the whole point. We'd only had each other. It had been that way forever. He was still talking. I remember the second week of school when you got sick. I spent the whole week alone. The whole week alone at lunch every day, alone after school. And don't take this the wrong way, but sometimes I want to hang out with boys, he yawned. I'm on these pills, he said, for my arm. They make me feel kind of sleepy. You could have just told me, I said. You could have said all this stuff before. I thought we talked about everything. And not everything. He looked at me in a groggy way. Anyway, I gave you hints, and you never got them. Mom and Louisa walked in. I thought you might be getting tired, Louisa told Sal. These painkillers. She said to Mom, he takes one, talks his heart out for 20 minutes, and then falls asleep, like clockwork. She gave me a tight hug as we were leaving and said, I'm glad you two had a chance to talk. And I wondered if she had saved the 20 minutes for me on purpose. I bet she did. Louisa's pretty awesome like that. All right, 2 chapters. We are just super close to finishing this up. All right, guys, have a great day.